Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Monday Lunchtime Digest for March 10, 2025. Happy Monday, Hayley.
Happy Monday, Micah.
All right, Hayley and I were just talking a second ago before we came on live about how the time change has really hit us. I imagine I'm going to be drinking lots of coffee today.
It's noon and I'm still on my cup, so I think I can justify another hour of coffee drinking today.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to hit my, I don't know, third or fourth cup here in a minute. So, Hayley, what's going on with OCI?
So, as always, lots of exciting things happening with OCI. And so later this week, we should have our trainings up for from last Saturday or 2 Saturdays ago. So, Tom's been working really hard on editing our motivational interviewing for substance abuse counseling, as well as my ethics of changing your career or of cultivating your career. And so both of those trainings should be up later this week. If you would like to be notified of when these trainings are published and ready to be watched, or if you just want to be notified of any of our other upcoming trainings, please send me an email, hello@edmondcounseling.com, or shoot me a text, 405-440-3034, and I will be happy to add you to our mailing list. We send out our email blast at least once a week, talking about not only upcoming trainings, but who has openings and other fun things going on at OCI. We also have another live training to announce. So our very own Amanda Beck will be doing a 3-hour training on Saturday, April 5th on Introduction to Exposure Therapy. So she's going to talk about using exposure therapy in OCD, in phobias, in social anxiety, and more. And so I know that Amanda is great with exposure therapy. Like that's one of the top things that she, one, loves to work with, and two, that fills her caseload as well of exposure therapy. And so I think we're in for a great treat that day. Later that afternoon on April 5th, we'll have Shelley Madden, LPC, talking about Introduction to Gottman Therapy. So two great introductory trainings on Saturday, April 5th. And if you want to learn more, you can go to counselinginstitute.org or send me an email, and I'm happy to tell you all about it.
Yes, I'm looking really, forward to both of these trainings. I actually completed the level 1 training, the Gottman level 1 training with Shelley, and she is a certified Gottman therapist and really knows a lot about it. So, if you haven't learned anything about Gottman, certainly come to this. Even if you don't work with couples, it's really good to have these Gottman principles and some of the techniques and things, even in working in individual counseling, to help them understand maybe the way that they're reacting to their spouse may not be the most helpful. So can even present these things in individual counseling. It doesn't have to necessarily be couples counseling. And then the exposure therapy. So I think, we've all taken exposure therapy in school and things like that, but there are a lot of nuances to exposure therapy that I think it was only recently that I began to appreciate, because doing the written exposure therapy that we do for post-traumatic stress disorder and working with Dr. Lack, then I started asking him about some other types of exposures I was doing with social anxiety and things like that during our consultation time. And just hearing some of these nuances on ways to make that better. And Amanda had, trained under Dr. Lack in her graduate studies, and then also we'll do periodic consultations with him still, I know. And then also it has kept up with the research in the field and everything. So she knows a lot about exposure therapy, and it'd be really good to hear from her on making sure that we do it right. So not just doing the hierarchy, but there's other things too, to make sure that we include exposure therapy.
Absolutely. I'm sure she'll talk about all of the ethical considerations for doing exposure therapies outside of the office as well as inside of the office, using live critters, using social situations. She has experience with it all. And so she has a wealth of knowledge that she's going to be sharing. And I know I'm excited for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we also have the Summer Super Summit coming up. Hayley?
We do. This will be on May 15th and 16th. And so it'll take place again at the Embassy Suites down by Will Rogers Airport. We have all of our breakout sessions available on summersupersummit.com. We'll have everything from exposure therapy with Dr. Lack, where he'll be doing a live snake exposure. Very excited about that. One that I am particularly thrilled for too is Dr. John Tassi. So Dr. John Tassi was appointed by the APA to head the mental health response to the Murrah building bombing back in 1995. And so he will be coming to speak about community resilience after a trauma. And so I think that is going to be an incredibly engaging and informative training from an expert. And I think it's very important because this is the 30th year anniversary of the Murrah bombing terrorist attack. And so I think it's a very timely and important presentation. Also, our keynote speaker, I'm so sorry, Terrence D. Wallace, he'll be talking about the ethics of harm reduction and substance abuse. And so we're going to get a lot of information on emerging literature, a lot of information on ethics. And I think I know I'm biased because I helped to pick them, but I think all of our breakouts are incredibly exciting and are going to be really fun this year.
Yes, absolutely. And, I know that the keynotes we have are going to be great too. They're going to be fantastic. But, I came up with a new diagnosis, Hayley, over the weekend. It's called ABD, for after breakout dysphoria. Because how many times have we gone to a conference and attended a breakout, and then you're walking out of the breakout and it's just like, it was okay. It just maybe did not meet expectations. I think we've all experienced after breakout dysphoria at some conferences, and at the Summer Super Summit, our goal is for people to not experience that, for them to come out of a breakout and just be excited about what they learn, and then go to the next one and be excited about that one, and just for every single breakout to be a really good experience. And I think we have a great lineup of people for the Summer Super Summit.
Absolutely. We have someone from OU's athletic department. We have a New York Times bestselling author. We have the president of NATIC, or we have so much more. And so go to summersupersummit.com, check out the full lineup, and we hope we'll see you there in May.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Hayley, what's going on in the world of mental health?
So, a couple of news stories. So, coming from Oklahoma, and so last week, Governor Kevin Stitt announced that he is going to be spearheading or commissioning an audit of ODMH. And so, according to the Oklahoman, so Allie Friesen, who's the commissioner, wrote to Stitt and said that she has noticed that budget deficiencies might have been intentionally caused by the last administration. Now, no details were released on what makes her believe that it was intentional, but an audit will be conducted of ODMH to see where the budget deficiencies may have gone and to see if there are any issues. And so to be continued with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Ms. Friesen, since she has taken that position, she has had a lot of challenges with, the court, decision as far as people not getting timely assessments for competency hearings, and coming up with what's the word I'm looking for? A settlement in that. And then also this new thing is she's getting in there and looking at the budget and seeing some of these discrepancies and informing Stitt and asking for this audit. So Allie Friesen, and if you're listening, we will take you to lunch because of all the things that you've had to face since taking that position.
Yeah, so I'm eager to see what the audit reveals, and hopefully that will lead to some goals that we can set in order to improve mental health in the state.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Anything else, Hayley?
I do, yes. So there was a new study that came out of the University of Toronto that basically said that chasing happiness, ironically, can make us less happy. And so what the research found was that whenever we are experiencing, let's say, depressive thoughts or anxiety-provoking thoughts, as we know, it takes a lot of willpower and a lot of energy in order to challenge those thoughts, to change those thoughts, to try to think happy thoughts instead. It takes a lot out of us. And if we know from Dr. Baumeister's research, if we are using a lot of our willpower, that might make it easier for us to have less willpower at the end of the day, which means that it's harder for us to make decisions. It's harder for us to make choices that are better for us. It's harder for us to restrain ourselves. It also makes it more likely that we experience some sort of anxiety or depression if we're constantly, working on changing our thoughts or having to keep from doing behaviors that we don't want to do. And so what the research has found is that if we are trying to force ourselves to think happy thoughts, or trying to force ourselves to do things that make us happy, ironically, it make us less happy because it zaps our energy, it zaps our willpower, it makes it more likely that we engage in destructive behaviors later on because we don't have the energy. And so what the research suggested was, if we can, allow ourselves to make contact with these negative feelings and instead put into our routine things that make us happy. So instead of, I'm feeling sad, I need to go force myself to be around friends, or I need to not think these sad thoughts. If we have things built into our routine, like, okay, well, on Tuesdays I go to this workout class, and on Wednesdays I meet up with this friend, or whenever I get home I take time to journal. Well, we don't have to make the conscious decision, where it's kind of just laid out for us. Once we get into that habit, that routine of having these happiness builders in our routine, where we don't have to think about it, and it's more of our habit, then that is what helps us to build happiness, rather than trying to forcefully change our thoughts. So
very interesting. So yeah, I'll be interested to read more about that and see how that may influence our practice. Because I think about, cognitive behavior therapy is all about challenging thoughts, right? And then acceptance commitment therapy is about just accepting thoughts, but not necessarily challenging them. So I'm sure this will add to that whole debate.
Absolutely. And I'm sure we can all see the merit. And my background's in CBT. I love CBT. I love my thought records. You can pry my thought records from my cold, dead hands. But I think that it's very important for us to also recognize that we do have to have that kind of routine for our clients too. We can't just rely on the thought records or just rely on changing our thoughts. That sometimes automating things for our clients, what can we do to make it easier for them to engage in the things that make them happy before happiness gets there? We don't have to wait and challenge the thoughts first. We can we don't have to wait for anxiety to dissipate or depression to dissipate before we do these things. These things are in our routine before anxiety or depression dissipates. So that might make it easier for anxiety or depression to dissipate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Hayley, I don't know if you know what I was doing right before I came on the air here, but I was updating our legislation tracker.
Where are you?
So we have just passed a really important date. So March 6th was the last day that bills out of their house, their original chamber, had to pass committee out of the original chamber. So House bills that went to a House committee, they had to pass out of the House committee by March 6th. And then similarly with the Senate, things that were originated in the Senate went to Senate committee, they had to pass out of a Senate committee by March 6th. So I'm updating the legislation tracker. I almost have it updated. So a lot of the things that we are watching did not make it past their committee. And so that means that they're dead for at least this legislative session. And so we have a few things that are still alive for this session. A couple of things that are dead are Senate Bill 486 and Senate Bill 590. Both of them had to do with having chaplains in schools. So Senate Bill 486 allowed school boards to be able to contract with a chaplain to do school counselor duties. And then Senate Bill 590 allowed school districts to employ or accept as a volunteer chaplain in the schools. And so both of those are dead for this session. Also, Senate Bill 702, modifying health education to remove teaching about mental health, that is dead for this session. One of the things that's still alive is House Bill 1173, which gives psychologists prescription rights. So that is still alive, as well as some of the others that we've been watching. So again, I will have that updated here in just a little bit. Encourage people to go counselinginstitute.org, check the legislation tracker, and just see what is still alive, what's out there, and where it is in the legislative process, so that we can be informed citizens and informed advocates for our clients and for also our profession.
Absolutely. Well, part of our ethical duty as those who work in mental health is that advocacy component. So it's an easy way for us to stay informed, as Micah said, so that way we can be better advocates.
Yes, absolutely. Recent news came out that the Supreme Court is going to be hearing a conversion counseling case during its next session, which starts in October. And so a licensed professional counselor in Colorado, her name is Kaylee Childs, that she is protesting, filed, made a court case. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time finding words today, because she is advocating that she wanted to use conversion therapy with a particular client, that this client consented to it, and that they, said according to their beliefs, they are okay with conversion therapy being used. And this counselor wanted to use conversion therapy on this client, but in Colorado, it's state law that conversion therapy is banned. So this is going to be going to the Supreme Court here sometime later in the year.
Interesting. Because at the end of the day, like, conversion therapy has been shown over and over and over again to be harmful at worst, but also it doesn't work. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And so it's ineffective and it's very harmful. And so the APA, the ACA have both stated that they are against conversion therapy. And so be interested to see how this plays out. I know that our Supreme Court has been packed during Republican administrations, and so I know that can sometimes sway how these things go. But I'd be very disappointed if this were to set a precedent that allows conversion therapy to continue.
Yeah, and that would be interesting if it was something that, let's say, the Supreme Court allowed it, and so then you have, at least legal precedents that it's allowed, but yet our own ethics are against us using conversion therapy. This would be one of those rare times that the legality of it and the ethics of it conflict with each other.
Absolutely. And so I wonder how that would stand up against licensing boards. If it is legal, how would licensing boards take it?
Right. I don't know. So to be determined.
To be determined.
Yeah. So Hayley, who's our winner for this week?
Our winner is Caitlin Black Salinas. Yay, Caitlin.
Hey, congratulations, Caitlin. So what did Caitlin win?
So Caitlin has won a free on-demand training. And so I interacted with Caitlin through customer support last week. And so I know she's got my email. Caitlin, send me an email. Please let me know which of our on-demand trainings you'd like, and I will add that to your course purchase history. So thank you so much for liking and commenting last week, Caitlin.
Hey, congratulations, Caitlin. And Hayley, how can people be like Caitlin and win free CEs?
So people can be like Caitlin by doing one or all three of three things. They can like this post, they can share this post, or they can comment to today's question. Every time you do one of those three things, not only do you help us grow, help us to feed the algorithm, but you also get entered into the drawing for next week's prize.
Ah, fantastic. So what is our question for this week, Hayley?
So our question for this week is, what TV show are you streaming right now? And so, Mike, I know this came from you. So what TV show are you guys streaming in your household?
Well, I'm always curious to know what people are into, right? And so, sometimes when we get in a show hole and you ask people around for people and you hear shows that people are watching that they really love. So I'm always kind of interested to know what people are into. Right now, I am really into Yellow Jackets. And so I'm on about halfway through season 2, that they just released season 3, I think not too long ago. And so I'm really digging that. My wife, Trinity, does not dig that show. I mean, it has some disturbing things that happen in it. And she's just like, oh my gosh, I cannot watch this show. And she says that, but yet she'll stay in the room looking at her phone, and then she'll peek up and watch it and ask questions from time to time about, oh, is that this and that? And I'm like, and I'll fill her in. So she says she doesn't like watching it, but I think she secretly likes watching it at least a little bit.
I'm waiting for her to pop around the corner because I know she's there with you at the house today and defend herself.
Yeah. She's up at work, and I'm sure she's probably hearing me right now. So anyway, that's what I'm into, and I don't know what she would say. She'd probably officially say that she's not into it, that it's too much for her. But Hayley, what are you into right now?
So Delton and I have been watching White Lotus. The newest season just released. It's on HBO. And what we really enjoy about it is that it releases episodically. So we have to wait until Sunday night at 8 o'clock to be able to watch it. And, with streaming and everything being on demand, the last 5 or 10 years, we've kind of gotten spoiled. You can binge watch, like we binge watched the first season of Yellow Jackets a couple of years ago. It's easy to like binge watch and like have your be able to get through an entire series in a week. But having to wait week by week for the next episode and having something to talk about with our friends every week is kind of going back to the old water cooler thing. Whenever you would watch a show and then the next day everyone talked about it at work. I think about like the last episode of The Office, or like even Friends. Everybody talked about it the next day. So it's kind of nice because I have a lot of friends and family who are watching the show. So we watch the episode, not necessarily together, but then the next week when we're calling, so what do you think's going to happen next? What do you think about this person? What's your conspiracy here? It's really great to kind of have that almost cultural experience again. I miss out on that. And so I like the White Lotus for that reason.
Ah, nice. See, I haven't seen any of that, so I'll have to check that out.
Oh, catch up and you can join our weekly conversations, Micah. We'll start talking about that on our Monday Lunchtime Digest. What are your conspiracies about the White Lotus?
Okay. What we did binge watch over the weekend, I think it's called Point Break. I think is what it's called, with Kate Hudson.
Oh, okay.
It's on Netflix. It was really good. So I binged that on Saturday. So I highly recommend that show. That's basically what I did, was just sit on the couch, eat, and watch that show all on Saturday. So it's worth seeing.
Sounds peaceful.
So we'd love to hear from you. What are you watching right now? If it's episodic, or if you're binging it, or whatever, however you're consuming it, what are you into right now? And as Hayley said, whenever you comment, whenever you like, whenever you share this post, then you have a chance each time that you do one of those things, you have a chance of winning the drawing. So the more you do, the better, and you can get free CEs just by watching this.
Absolutely. And thank you all so much for participating.
Yeah, and thank you guys for supporting us. And anytime that you come to an in-person workshop, you watch an on-demand course, you watch a live webinar, or anytime that you tell a friend or colleague about us, you're helping to support the mission of providing quality continuing education for mental health professionals. So thank you guys so much for that.
Yes, thank you.
And everybody have a good week and drink lots of coffee today. And hopefully we'll get back regulated tomorrow.
Caffeinated and regulated.
Caffeinated and regulated. All right. Everyone take care. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.